So hey, how's it going out there in YouTube land? I'm just sitting here with the sun streaming in on another beautiful day and in my improvised outdoor office, and I've had a few questions about how I etch my maker's mark and my logo or whatever it is on my knives and so forth. So I thought I'd just do a little video explaining my process, and bear in mind it's just my process and how I do things and what I've arrived at and how I get that onto there. Yeah, so we'll get stuck into it and we'll have a closer look at what I use, and like I said, it's just my process and it works for me, so I'm happy to share it with anybody who wants to know. So yeah, let's dive into it and have a good close look at what I do. What I also thought I'd do, and been meaning to do it for a while, haven't got around to it, do a few experiments and see if I can get it a little better or worse or whatever happens. So yeah, come along and we'll have a look at what we can do. So first things first, you're going to need to get yourself some sort of stencil. There's various ways of doing that. I guess you can go online apparently and get cheap versions of that. People will do it for you, but what I came up with, and I've tried a few things, is I've come up with one of these, which is a Brother P-Touch. Yeah, it's probably got different words, but that's what it is. So it's a relatively inexpensive way of doing it. Came with I think it's run out now, but came out with a sample of label tape. So I use it for labels as well. If you look at any of my stuff, or you bought a fly vice off me, you'll see that little logo that I put on the side. I put those stickers on, so that works pretty good for that. So if you're doing what I'm doing, and I've got a new roll of it here, and get my dirty old Riverfine pocket knife which I made. Have a look at that video if you're interested in folding knives, second one ever made. Just open that up. There we go, we're getting there. So what it is, get in there. More layers to go through. So what they call this is TZE. This is 24mm by 0.94 of an inch, and it's stencil tape, yeah? If you can see that in the video. So that's what it is, stencil tape. And I'll get the old antique laptop that I have, which is all I've got. Yeah, okay, we're back into it. Bit of a problem with the cat knocking over the camera, but we're back into it. What was I saying? Yeah, TZE stencil tape, which goes with this Brother printer, and that's what I use to make my stencils. So I'll go, like I said, I'll get my antique laptop out, and I'll just use a program or the software that came with that, and I'll show you, if I can get in close enough, how I print out my logos and what you need to know about that. Right, let's go. So naturally you turn the machine on. We'll zoom around there a little bit to the P-Touch. It is a Wi-Fi operating thing, but I've never got my head around that, so I just put it into the USB port. We're not going to linger too long in the aim with the old computer stuff, because to be quite honest, IT is not my forte. I know enough about computers to get myself way deep into the mire, and not really enough to get myself out. But anyway, when you've got it there, if I zoom in on that a little bit, wrong way, there we go. And you can see how you open the software that comes with it, and then you can put your labels and so forth in there. Right, there we go. And so you can see there I've got my WLJs. Normal sort of stuff like a Word document, you just move it around and put it where you want to do, copy and paste, and Bob's your uncle, ready to go. What I tend to do is, yeah, I'll do that. I'll print 1, 2, 3, 4, I think I've got 4 or 5 there in a row. I won't do 4 separate ones, because when it prints out it leaves quite a gap in the stencil tape, and yeah, you tend to waste a little bit of tape. So with that said, you'll be able to figure your way through that, and we'll put the stencil tape into the thing. So we'll just move that out of the way and focus back onto the old machine here. There we are. So open her up like so, expose the guts of it, if you can see that. What I will say, and what I do is when you've got your stencil tape wherever it is here, like that, it'll focus. Yeah, you need to, these bits here I found in my experience, I pull it out quite a wee way, because, I'll put that in there, bear with me, bear with me. Oh, don't do that. Put that in and close it up. What I've found is when I print out, you need to hold this here and just put a little wee bit of pressure on it, yeah? So if you don't, that stuff underneath the actual stencil is quite light stuff, and it will bind up in the machine and not work so well. So that's what I'll do. So when we come to the printing of it, we can get back over to there. You just click on up there and go print, but what I tend to do, I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, but I'll go file, print, and if you can see that, I pick special tape and I want one copy of it, push print, and keep a little bit of pressure on that. You can see how even 5 of those or 4 of those give you quite a lot, and then it's got a function up there to cut it off. So as simple as that, that's given me, but you can tell, I don't know if you'll see that in the camera actually, but there's, yeah, it's very hard to see these things, very, very hard to see them. But there are actually 4 on there. So what I'm going to do is print out another 4. So again, what I'll need to do is just extend that tape out a bit. If I was to print now, that would bind up in the machine and not ideal. So it's a bit of a rigmarole, taking that out, extending it a little bit. But if you don't, you end up wasting quite a lot of tape. So it's just a better way of doing it, getting it bound in the machine. So we'll do 8 of them, and we'll do 8 experiments, scientific, all the rest of it. And so again, just hold your pressure there. And I'll do another print, yeah. File, print, special tape, print. Done. Cut her off. And you lose a bit of tape doing that too, but there we go. So that's the essence of that. It's not too difficult really. This laptop, like I said, is classed as an antique now apparently. So there are other functions that you can do with this P-Touch. You can get upgraded software if you've got the machine to run it, which this one isn't. So I just use what I got and it works for me, so I'm happy enough with it at this stage. In time I probably will get a cricket cut, I think they call them, or circuit cut, or whatever they call them, and I'll use one of those to make more elaborate stencils. But yeah, for now that works pretty good. So from here I think we'll move on and we'll have a look at how we etch it onto the steel. So yeah, let's go. One thing I forgot to mention is the old label maker there runs on batteries. You can plug it into a power source, but yeah, I just run it on the batteries and they lasted a really long time, so that's good. If I wiggle that light around a little bit, you can see the WLJs there. It's really hard to see them on the stencil tape, which is, we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you can sort of see how that's marked it out. So what happens when you start to etch it is that will, yeah, that'll break through sort of thing, and that'll leave your mark on your blade. So that's all good. So yeah, hopefully you can see that in the video, but yeah, there you go. I know it's backwards, but it's the only way I could get it to show up at least at all. So yeah, with that said, let's carry on. So what are you going to need? Well, stencils naturally, as you've already just seen, and you can do it with nail polish. I have done that before. Paint the steel with nail polish and scrape out the WLJ or whatever you want to put on it, and yeah, that's a little bit laborious, and stencil is just a little bit better, but you can do it with nail polish if you wanted to do that. I've taken a pencil, I think, or something steel, and scrape that out. So yeah, like I said, stencils. Then you're going to need a power source. So if we'll zoom in on that, so for what I use, you can do it with different things. I've used a 9-volt battery before with a couple of alligator clips and these here Q-tips, cotton buds we call them down here. I think in the northern hemisphere you call them Q-tips, but yeah, I don't know, you can do that with alligator clips and a 9-volt battery. Get rid of those cups there. So what I use, and we'll do a close-up on that, so back at you in a second. So what I use for my power source is this relatively cheap battery charger for car batteries, as you probably know, 220, 240 volt, 50 to 60 hertz. I keep it on, if you can see that clearly enough, it's got 12 and 24 volts. I keep it on 12 volt because every time I put it on 24 volts or anything, it just blows a fuse, but there you go. So that's what I use. I've found it pretty good, to be fair. It's a good little machine for that. So that's your power source. Like I said, you can actually buy dedicated etching machines, but any that I've found online are relatively, well, quite expensive in my opinion. That one there came in at quite a good price, can't remember what it was. And I can use it for charging my 4x4 battery, which seems to happen a lot lately. So that's what I use. So once you've got your power source sorted, you're going to need, I think it's called an electrolyte. And for that, as you can see in front of there, you can use water. We'll do an experiment with water, and you need to saturate it with salt. So I just use that stuff there, iodised table salt, you can get pretty much anywhere. And I mix it into the vinegar. I use vinegar. People online say use water. Yeah, I've tried that, but for best results for me, the vinegar works really, really good. Just standard again, buy it at your local produce store or whatever, white vinegar, and I'll show you what I do with that. So that's also what you're going to need there. From there, I guess you'll need to you need to connect it to get a circuit type of thing, like a welder, I guess. So you need, I guess you'd call it an electrode. So what I've got there is just a bolt. I think it's a Coach bolt, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's what it is. It's a bolt, and I've just put a nylon sleeve over the top, just drilled it out because I had a bit spare. You could use wood there. I don't think it'd matter if you touch the bolt or whatever you do, but there you go. And on the end of that, what I use is this here surgical gauze. Cut a strip off and rubber band it on the end, which you'll see in a second. Do you need surgical gauze? When I run out of that, I use just standard old handy towels. They seem to work as well. Or I have actually used a rag in desperation, and that didn't work too bad either. So that's pretty much what you'll need. Naturally, some masking tape. Hold your stencils on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So from here, I'll put my stencils on this piece of 1084, if you can see it under the crap and corruption there, and we'll start doing some etching tests and see what we come up with here. Okay, so probably the trickiest part of the whole thing is cutting out these stencils and lining them up on the knife when you're doing it, because like I've said before many times, they're very, very hard to see. So you just cut off what you need, leaving a bit of spare. I have wiped the steel down with acetone, anything just to take the grease and stuff off, so I don't know if that makes any difference, but that's what I've done. So there we go. So we cut one stencil out, put that over there so we don't ruin it. And this will be our first one we'll do, and we'll do it with what I normally do so we get an idea of what's going on. That's backwards, so I'll put it up the other way. Cool. So what you want to be careful of when you do tape it down for this type of stencil is that you get it flat. The stencil flat on the steel, because if it's not, then you'll get some of the vinegar or whatever you're using will leach underneath it, and you'll get marks where you don't want marks. So once that's down like that, I can't actually see where it is, so I'm just sort of guessing. Yes I can, no I can't. There we go. So get it flat on the steel as you can. There we go, that's good. Oh, plug in the battery charger, get ready to roll. Can't find the lead, there it is. So for this one here, yep, so like I said, grab a rubber band, end up buying far too many, but never mind, I'll use them. I take my little electrode thing here and just put that over the end of the gauze and rubber band that on. If you look down close enough, I might do a close-up on what I've got there. This is what I do generally. In there is vinegar, and you, like I said, whether it's water or vinegar or whatever you use, you need to saturate with salt. You need to get as much salt in there as you possibly can. In my opinion, that's what works for me. So let's have a look, see if we can zoom right in on that. No, wrong way again. So you might be able to see, you might not be able to see. In there is yeah, salt, and lots of it. So I'll give it a stir up, just like so. And you can see the salt is too much. No, not too much, you can't have enough. So I'm going to do the vinegar and the salt. Go over to here. Now the way I connect it up is I have, just as I learnt when I was learning to TIG weld, DC electrode negative, so the positive will work as your earth or current return or whatever you call it, and your negative will go onto my electrode here, like so. Good connection. So that's what I do there. I'll turn the battery charger on, it's all go. I'll just dip that into that salt solution, give it a rotor up and down, and you don't want it saturated, I mean not saturated at all. You don't want that really, really wet. So I just take it to the hand towel, dry it off a little bit, and then I just rub it over. And you'll see when you start doing it, you'll hear it sizzling. And you'll see it start to make a mark on there. How long you hold it for is entirely up to yourself. With the stencil tape, you'll see little bits, that little dots and so forth that get on there. I personally don't mind that, I quite like it. It gives it, in my opinion, a sort of an antique look. But you just keep doing that until you're happy with it. So we're starting to get something going on there. And away we go. And just keep an eye on it. And yeah, so how long do you do it for? I don't know, I never really counted, but like I say, with this you'll start to get bits leaching out, and you just do it a few times, you get an idea what you need to do. So there we go, that's the first one done, and that's exactly how I tend to do it. So I'll give you a bit of a close-up on what's happened there, and of course if that's all you wanted to know, you could probably stop watching the video now, but I'll do some more tests. So as you just seen, that's the vinegar and the salt. And what I'll do now is, if you can see that clearly in the video, you can see the WLJ. You just peel off your stencil there. Yeah, and I'll give it a bit of a Scotch-Brite. Of course this isn't a blade, but you get the essence. I'll give it a Scotch-Brite. And then I'll usually, if I'm doing a blade blank, I will soak that in CRC, WD-40, whatever you want to call it. So that's our first one, good enough to go. You will note that it's still quite silver. Again, it's personal preference as to what you want to do. I personally like that. If you can see close enough there, you see little pits and so forth coming around it. Again, I like that, so that's what I like to do. So there it is, that's the first one done. So what I'm going to do now, I've taped down another one onto the 1084 there, as you can see. I'm going to do it again exactly like I did before with the DC electrode negative, or negative on the whatever this is. Do it again with the vinegar and the salt. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it around and have the positive on there after I've done that, and see if that makes any difference. Let's go, turn that on. And like I said, you will hear it sizzling away. You'll see it starting to work. Take your time. Don't want it too saturated, like I said, but just dip it back in there when you need to. Bit of a dry, who cares? I'm just doing an experiment. Totally scientific, as you can tell. You will note over on the side that the nail polish had gone hard as a rock. It's been sitting in the toolbox for like 3 years, but I've put a bit of Galv paint on there, or rust stop paint, and I'll scratch out a WLJ and I'll see if I can do something with that. So yeah, what I'm going to do now, see if I can make any difference. I'm going to change these electrodes around. Go DC electrode positive. Might make a difference, might not, but we'll see. Could blow the fuse, who knows, never done it. Something's happening. Of course, the longer you leave it on, the deeper the etch will be. I might do a close-up on my kitchen knife where I etched the maker's marks on. First one I made, took it in the kitchen, didn't cut very well, so brought it back out, did some more grinding on the blade, put a convex grind on it, and yeah, made the world of difference, but you can still see where I etched it. So there we go. We'll give it heaps, eh? Give it heaps, yep. Rightio, let's turn it off. Let's have a look, see what we've come up with there. You can see the end of that's gone quite black. I normally will change the gauze every time I do it. Sometimes I might do 2 or maybe 3. Oh jeepers. Oh no. Oh yes. Right, let's have a bit of a Scotch Brite on that. Like I said before, once I've finished the blade, I'll soak it in the WD-40 if you want to stop the salt and stuff from still working. So to be honest, that really didn't make much difference. It's actually made it, can't even see it. But anyway, it's all food for thought, it's all trial and error. So yeah, don't know if this made much difference at all, but we'll have a close up. So there's the one I did with the negative on the electrode. That's the one I did with the negative on the electrode and then positive on the electrode. And to be quite honest, I don't really think it's made much difference at all, but you can be the judge. Anyway, that's that. So yeah, next test will be, we'll heat up some water. Oh, kick camera. We'll heat up some water and we'll try some water and vinegar. Salt. Water and salt, this one is. So what I've done is I read somewhere on the internet that the water needs to be warm. So exactly what I've done, heated it up. We'll go back with a positive on there, a negative on here. Got that as hot as I can on the old camp oven. As much salt in there as I can get. Turn the battery charger on and we'll give this one a go. So I might have that a little bit wet to be fair, but seems to be doing something. So that's the water and salt, warm water and salt. We'll take that off there for now and we'll do another close-up. Take that off, looks like I might have overcooked that one a bit, but we'll have to see. Stuck my fingers. A lot of pitting around the outside of that. Give it a scrub. Yeah, it's come up too good, not too bad. I overcooked it, so there's definitely room for improvement there. But yeah, I think with a bit more tweaking and a bit more mucking around and not going so hard and so long, that would probably work alright, to be fair. So yeah, that's that one there. So I'll do another one now actually. I'll use the warm water, the salt, and I'll do the polarisation around the other way. So for the purposes of the experiment, you can see on that one there, with the warm water and the salt, I had the electrode far too wet, dripping wet. And you can see in this one here, which has actually come up a lot better. Still silver though, even though I reversed the polarity as well. Still silver, but you can see it's a far better etch. There's a lot less, well, there's pretty much no pitting and marking around the side there. So that's a much better etch. Yeah, so learning from that, which I already knew I should have taken care. Don't get that electrode too wet. That's why it's almost dry for that one there. So you'll avoid a lot of that pitting and marks and messes like that by keeping it a lot drier than I had it. So that's all good. That's warm water and salt. So before the video becomes 40 days and 40 nights long, I'm just doing one more test here. I may do another one, just one, but never mind, and I'm just drying that off. And now I'm using the vinegar, but new vinegar, in the salt solution, and give it one more go. One more point to bear in mind is that when you polish a blade and sand it up, it won't be as rough a surface as this 1084 is right now. So you will get a little bit more emphasised on your etching. But yeah, it's all experiments, and here we go. Rightio, let's do a close-up of that. Have a look at them all. So yeah, not a real lot of difference in that one. Soaked that one too a little bit longer. Yeah, it's all pretty much coming up the same. What I did end up doing over here, so that's roughly what I came up with under the old paint. Just scraping off the WLJ and doing that. So yeah, there you have it. So over there is the one I did under the paint, scraping it off. That one there is the first one we did. Move around here a bit if it'll work. That one there is we did with the water. The other two were with the vinegar. That's probably the best one that came out there, to be fair. We're moving over here. That one there, as you can see, overcooked. Totally had the electrode thing too wet. That one there is with it really dry. And that one there, you can't remember. Flick back, you'll have a look. So we ended up doing 6 tests, but yeah, that's enough. That's about as good as I can get them, and that's how I do it. So we'll do a little outro and we'll call it a day on that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little video. I hope you might have learned something. You might not have, but yeah, that's about all I've got to say on that, for that matter there. So that's basically the essence in about half an hour of how I etch my maker's mark on my knives. And anything else, I have done it on a stainless pot as well, but that's another story. So there we go. Is it ideal? Is it perfect? No, it's not, but yeah, it works for me, and it's good enough at the moment. So in time, yes, in time I will add an etch-o-matic or dedicated proper etching machine to my arsenal of things I have, but at the moment, yeah, I don't focus on what I don't have. I focus on what I do have and make it work as best I can. Is the battery charger the best thing in the world for doing it? No, probably not, but I already had it, so I made it work. You got a 4x4 like mine, then you probably need a battery charger. Is the label maker the best thing in the world for making the stencils? And again, in time I will make better stencils and get a better way of doing that, but for now that works. I had the label maker for making labels, so yeah, again, I make it work. So that's how I do it. Can it be improved? Yeah, probably can. I can't get them black at this stage. Maybe you can help me in the comments with that, but I think it's probably the gear needs to be upgraded, but yeah, that's another story too, and we'll work on that over time. So yeah, I hope this is finding you well and happy and healthy, and to all those lovely people who subscribe, thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you really enjoy the rest of your day, so take care and stay cool.